Like many parents and guardians at the moment, I've been helping my 12-year-old daughter with some of her homeschooling. And like many, we are looking forward to the end of term. Most of it Annie gets on and does herself. But there are times when we need to sit together and talk about the work assigned. For the past few weeks, we've sat down together to mull over Annie's geography assignments. We've been looking together at the migration patterns of birds and mammals. Last week we looked at the migration pattern of the elephant seal, and the week before that we studied the journey of the swallow from Africa to Europe and back again. That long journey of the swallow back to Africa, down through the western France and eastern Spain into Morocco, before crossing the Sahara Desert and the Congo rainforest. I know what you're thinking. You're going to ask that question, that Monty Python question. Is it an African swallow or a European swallow? Anyhow, we had to note down the physical and cultural landmarks on the swallow's journey, all the mountains and rivers and man-made structures. For this task we took out my old Phillips Modern School Atlas. Published in 1969, I've had this atlas for as long as I can remember, and it has served me well. While some things on my old atlas would need to be updated, such as place names and changes in the political maps, most of the atlas reflects what remains unchanged. Things like mountains. The mountains are there for one century upon another, unchanged witnesses to all that does change, like the seasons, the populations, the animal life. All that can change, and change dramatically. But the mountain remains as a sort of witness, a witness to all beauty, all truth, all tragedy, and all terror. The mountains were there when God spoke to Moses and handed over the law. They were there in the time of the prophet Isaiah, and again in the life of Jesus. In our time too, the mountains prevail. God is often described, particularly in the Psalms, as appearing on or from a mountain. In the light of splendour you appeared, glorious from the eternal mountains, writes the psalmist in Psalm 76. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of the messenger who brings good news, says the prophet Isaiah. And what remains as unchanged as the mountains? What remains is that our God reigns. What remains unchanged is that we are God's people. At all times and in all places, through all the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Our journey towards the end of the school term, and our journey out of our current situation, whatever that may be, our journey out of that and onto an easier, more familiar pattern, is a bit like that of a single ragged swallow on its flight home, veering towards the earth. And as we, like that swallow, reach out towards the future and to whatever that holds for us, what remains as unchanged as the mountain is that God is with us. God is with us when we are outside and inside, when we are locked down or shielded or free to move, when we are alone or in company, when we are asleep and awake, when we feel sorrow and when we feel joy, when we are bowed down or lifted up. Our God, alive and as real to us as a mountain, is not high up or far away, but with us in our homes, in our streets, in all of our living, in all of our dying, all of the time. When we know this, we can say with confidence, all the time. God is good. God is good all the time.